On the morning of August 6, 1945, the citizens of Hiroshima were beginning their day. Children were walking to school, workers were heading to factories, streetcars were running on schedule. The air raid sirens had sounded earlier, but the all clear had been given. A single American plane had been spotted, just one, not worth an alarm. At 8:15 a.m. and 17 seconds, the world changed forever. In that single second, a new era began, not just for Japan, for all of humanity. Hiroshima in 1945 was a city of approximately 350,000 people. It was also one of Japan's most important military cities, home to the Second Army headquarters, a major military port, and dozens of factories producing war materials. It had largely been spared from the American bombing campaign that had devastated other Japanese cities. Many residents believed this meant Hiroshima was being saved for something, though no one knew what. The city sat on a flat delta formed by 6 rivers flowing into the Hiroshima Bay. The rivers and the flat terrain would later prove catastrophic. There was nowhere for the blast wave to dissipate, nowhere for the firestorm to be blocked. On the morning of August 6th, the weather was clear. Visibility was perfect. From 30,000 feet above, the city was easily visible, exactly as planned. The weapon that fell on Hiroshima was called Little Boy. It was 3 meters long. It weighed 4,000 kilograms. It contained 64 kilograms of uranium-235, of which less than 1 kilogram actually underwent fission in the explosion. Less than 1 kilogram, and it destroyed a city. The B-29 bomber carrying it, the Enola Gay, had taken off from Tinian Island in the Pacific 6 hours earlier. The crew of 12 knew they were carrying something extraordinary. They did not know exactly what would happen when it detonated. At 8:15 a.m., Little Boy was released from the bomb bay at 9,400 meters altitude. It fell for 44 seconds. It detonated at 580 meters above the ground, directly over a hospital. The explosion released energy equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT in a fraction of a second. At the hypocenter, the point directly below the explosion, the temperature reached 4,000 degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the sun. People within 500 meters were vaporized instantly. They left shadows, their outlines burned permanently into stone and concrete by the flash. Those shadows are still visible today. The blast wave expanded outward at the speed of sound, flattening everything within 2 kilometers. Buildings that had stood for generations collapsed in seconds. The 6 rivers of Hiroshima filled with bodies. Then came the firestorm. The heat from the explosion ignited thousands of fires simultaneously across the city. Those fires merged into a single massive firestorm, creating winds powerful enough to uproot trees and pull people off their feet toward the flames. And then, the black rain. Within 30 minutes of the explosion, a dark, oily rain began falling over Hiroshima. It contained radioactive soot and dust from the explosion. People caught in the open drank it, desperate for water in the burning city. Many who survived the initial blast died weeks later from radiation sickness they did not understand. The Japanese word for survivors of the atomic bombings is hibakusha, literally explosion-affected people. Those who survived the initial blast faced a city that no longer existed. The hospitals were destroyed. The doctors were dead. There was no water, no food, no shelter. People walked through the ruins searching for family members, not knowing that the ash they were walking through contained the remains of those they were looking for. One survivor, Tsutomu Yamaguchi, was in Hiroshima on a business trip when the bomb fell. He survived. He returned to his home city 3 days later. His home city was Nagasaki. On August 9th, 3 days after Hiroshima, the United States dropped a second atomic bomb on Nagasaki. Yamaguchi survived that explosion too. He became the only person officially recognized by the Japanese government as a survivor of both atomic bombings. He lived until 2010. He was 93 years old. The decision to use the atomic bomb remains one of the most debated in history. The American argument was straightforward. An invasion of Japan would have cost hundreds of thousands of American lives and potentially millions of Japanese lives. The bombs ended the war quickly and prevented that invasion. The Japanese argument, and the argument of many historians since, is that Japan was already near surrender, that the bombs were unnecessary, and that their use was the beginning of a nuclear arms race that has threatened humanity ever since. Both arguments contain truth. Neither fully satisfies. What is undeniable is that Hiroshima changed the nature of war itself. Before August 6, 1945, war was terrible but survivable. Cities could be rebuilt. Armies could recover. After Hiroshima, war between nuclear powers meant the potential end of civilization itself. Every arms control treaty. Every nuclear negotiation. Every moment a world leader has paused before pushing humanity closer to nuclear conflict. The shadow of Hiroshima was present. By the end of 1945, approximately 140,000 people had died from the Hiroshima bombing, from the initial blast, the firestorm, the black rain, and the radiation sickness that followed. The Enola Gay's co-pilot, Robert Lewis, watched the mushroom cloud rise from the cockpit and wrote in his journal, "My God, what have we done?" In the center of Hiroshima today stands the atomic bomb dome, the ruins of a building that stood almost directly below the explosion. Its skeletal frame survived because the blast came from directly above, not from the side. 1945. A permanent reminder. Every year on August 6th at 8:15 a.m., bells ring across Hiroshima. The city stops. For 1 minute, silence. Because some moments are too important to forget. Subscribe to Echoes of Collapse. Every week, another moment that changed the world forever.